Hi, welcome back.
Hello, Marcy.
Welcome back.
So nice to see you.
Nice to have you back. See you some more. Nice to see everybody. Hello.
And look at Kevin in California. Hi, Kevin in California.
Hey, Kevin. Is that a real background or where you are? Is that a computer background or?
No. I'm just outside. It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
I thought so. Very beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hello. Hey, Peter.
Hi there,
Hello.
Pete.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, Marcia.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Margaret and Lisa.
Hello, Martin.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Martis.
Hello.
Hi, Leonard.
Jessica.
Hello, Dr. Ditzy. Glad
Hello.
Does that need explanation, Jess?
It's our
Our
speaker,
guest,
Bev, that's
our
our
guest
speaker.
speaker.
That's
Dr. Beverly
speaking Bev.
Ditzy.
She's
Is that
with
how
us.
you say your name? I don't know.
Hi, good evening. Yes, my name is Bev. I'm fine with just Bev.
Good.
Okay.
Hello. Some familiar faces. Good evening, Rabbi. Hello, Margaret and Liebe. I have not seen you in maybe 20 years.
It's good to see you again.
Oh, it's awesome to see you both.
So I think that's the spirit, Simone, to ask Jessica to do how good and pleasant it is. I think that's the spirit. That's the moment.
Okay, and I'll ask Jess to do how Hinema Tovim Anayim, and I think she's going to say a few words about it before she sings or after she sings.
Do you want me to start now?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Well, Simone and I have been talking about the gendered language in our prayers and looking for alternatives. So Simone found an alternative for Hinema Tov instead of Shevet Achim, which is brothers together. How nice it is for brothers to be together. We can either do brothers one verse, sisters one verse, or we could just do for all of us. So I'm going to do for all of us, Kulanu. And then I found an article and I put the, maybe I should do it again for those who haven't come in, but I put the link in the chat if you want to read. It's a short article about trying to ungender the prayers, and not the Torah, but just the prayers that we sing. Okay, so now I'll start, and I hope I remember to put in the new word. Hinema Tov Umanai. Sorry?
It's
The
just
machine was
computer telling you
indicating recording
is in
process.
progress.
Go ahead.
Keep
Go ahead. How good and pleasant.
Hinema Tov Umanayim. Hinema Tov Umanayim. Hinema Tov Umanayim. Hinema Tov Umanayim. Shevet Kulanu Gam Yachad, Gam Yachad, Gam Yachad. Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Umanayim, Hinema Tov Umanayim, Hinema Tov Umanayim, Hinema Tov Umanayim. Shevet Kulanu Gam Yachad, Gam Yachad, Gam Yachad. Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma Tov, Hinema Tov Ma
Thank you. Thank you, Jess. And it's my pleasant duty to welcome everyone, those who came for us for the special program of the Pride Shabbat, those who came for us with the Orchim LeShabbat, the hospitality program that we have for all the progressive children, those who are always with us. So I'm honored and I'm glad to welcome you in this evening to our service. It's a long festive season, and the Pride Shabbat is among its highlights for a while now. This is the 9th year since we started 2013. So I counted it's 9, actually, not 8. And I want to take the 4 species that's in liturgy. In the liturgy of queer Jews have become a strong symbol of different species, different qualities coming together. And bless you all. And just before we go to the Shabbat schedule, I want to kind of share with you the prosperity and abundance and reign of this ritual. And here we are, and all are welcome in our sukkah. And I wish us all a great program ahead. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. I'm here with you. Simon, to you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to start by welcoming everybody. And then the second thing is, those of you who know me know that I'm going to ask you to switch your cameras on. If you're sitting at home and you're sitting on your sofa and you just haven't switched your camera on because you just don't, please switch your camera on. If you're in the bath or something like that, you can leave your camera off. But it just creates some kind of nice community. This is the closest thing to community that we have right now. So if we could have cameras on. Oh, look at that. I see all these lovely smiling faces. Thank you very much. I'd also like to start by thanking Leslie and Tessa, who are running the tech behind the scenes. And most importantly, to thank Rabbi Saar and Beit Emanuel for putting this 9th Pride, I had 8th, but now I know it's 9th, Pride Shabbat on the calendar. And equally for giving Josh and I the space to find readings and to run with it, to run with the service and giving a space for our voices to be heard and to celebrate queer identities as members of Beit Emanuel with our friends and allies. However, as we enter this space, I think it's really important to recognize that Pride is not just a celebration. It's not just about adding rainbows and pride flags, although the fact that Zoom has this rainbow flag, the all-inclusive rainbow flag you see around me, and Tessa's got hers on as well, is pretty cool. But Pride has to be both a recognition of the major steps forward that LGBTIA+ rights have taken, but also a recognition that we have a long way to go. We can't simply celebrate when there are 69 countries where homosexuality is still illegal. We can't celebrate when in our very own country, our queer siblings are being brutally attacked, raped, and killed simply because of who they are. We can't celebrate when some of us have privileges granted by our race and class that our queer siblings don't have. And so tonight, we honor those who came before us, whose shoulders we stand on, who's fighting, some of them in our own community, have allowed us this open space and made our lives so much easier. But we also remember that there is still work to be done. There is still work to be done by us as a queer community, but there's also work to be done by our friends and allies in the community. I'm going to start off by asking Peter to do a reading which brings us into the Shabbat, and that'll be followed by Lieber lighting the Shabbat candles, and Rory and Jess will sing the blessings. So Peter, over to you.
I am unmuted. Okay. The reading is called The Twilight People by Rabbi Ruben Zulman. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles, at the intersection of histories, or between place and place. We are crisscrossed paths of memory and destination, streaks of light and swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define. We can always say a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיינו בזמן הזה.
Amen.
Who goes first?
You, Jess.
Okay. Okay, so this is a version of the Candle Blessings by Debbie Friedman. And it's in English. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness, mercy, and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness, mercy, and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights, see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
Thank you. The readings that we're doing are from queer liturgies from around the world, so you don't have them in front of you, but we are going to get back to the Siddur in a minute. So I'm going to invite Neville to do a reading called Come Together.
So this reading called We Come Together comes from Kol HaNeshama. We come together this Shabbat, each bringing to the sanctuary a private world of hopes, of fears, of dreams. Some of us are burdened by anxieties and cares that all but crash our faith in the future. Others have hearts filled with happiness, grateful for the joys of the past week, yet aware that even the most fortunate are vulnerable before the mystery of tomorrow. Every life is a unique blending of joy and sorrow, of fulfillment and frustration. Beneath our uniqueness, we are all bound together by our common humanity. All of us most deeply yearn for the blessings of freedom and peace. Each of us seeks the personal liberation of a mind that is not enslaved to conventional wisdom, a heart that is able to love without fear, a spirit that cries yes to the universe. Each of us strives, too, for the inner peace that comes with finding a harmony between our aspirations and our abilities. This is the Shabbat peace to which we all aspire.
Thank you. And we turn now to Zandi.
This reading is The Fabulous Human Family, adapted from a speech by Rabbi Adam Rosenwasser. One of the most important teaching of the Torah is V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. There are no ifs and or buts. We are commanded to love all members of the fabulous human family. In the creation account of the book of Genesis, God creates us B'Tselem Elohim, in God's image. That means that all of us, no matter our race, religion, gender identity, nationality, economic status, disability, or sexual orientation, are reflections of the divine being who created us. Therefore, when we act with love and compassion toward one another, we become holy. But holiness is not enough. Being holy means we become aware of our task to fix this broken world. The biblical prophets urge us on with their words, justice shall you pursue. Pursuing justice means that we will keep working until our objectives are achieved, until we gain full civil rights for all, including marriage equality and non-discrimination protections across our country. Each one of us carries the divine spark within, and when these sparks come together, be they 2 sparks in marriage or many more sparks in community, there is much more godliness in the world. Bigotry prevents the sparks from uniting, from joining with other sparks. Bigotry and hatred keep people in their shells, afraid. Bigotry is the absence of justice. So pursuing justice means dealing with bigotry head on. It means educating others about the diversity and beauty of God's creation. It means not being afraid ourselves. It means letting our sparks shine as bright as they can. For where there is light, there is hope and justice penetrates the dark. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asanu b'tselem Elohim. Praised are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who has made all of us in your image as amazing, awesome, and wonderful creations. Amen.
Thank you both for reading those so beautifully. We now turn to page 130, and Rory will lead us in the spark together in Lechuna Ranana.
Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu Nekabla, Fanav Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Bismirot Naria Lo. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yitzenu Nekabla, Fanav Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Bismerot Narialo.
And now we go halfway across the world, which is one of the wonderful things about Zoom, to page 132, where Kevin will lead us in Psalm 96.
Sing to God a new song. Sing to God, all the earth. Sing to God, bless God's name. Proclaim God's victory day after day. Tell of God's glory among the nations. God's wondrous deeds amongst all people, for the Eternal One is great and much acclaimed. God is held in awe by all the divine beings. All the gods of the people are mere idols. But the Eternal, O made the heavens. Glory and majesty are before God. Strength and splendor are in God's temple. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exult. And then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy. And at the presence of the Eternal One, for God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people in faithfulness.
And still on page 132, Ozeruach.
Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Uyishvelev simcha. Or zarua la tzadik uyishvelev simcha. Uyishvelev simcha. Uyishvelev simcha.
We invited some of the song leaders from Cape Town to join us for our service, but they couldn't. And so what they've done is sent us a short video of a song they would have sung, and we're on page 134. We seem to have lost the sound.
Sound is gone.
I continue on page 135 for Psalm 99. I've posted a link to the prayer book. I'm aware that there are people who are not regulars, so I just posted on the link the link to our prayer book, which you can use, Mishkan Tefillah. You'll have it on line 135, Psalm 99. אדוני מלאך ירגזו עמים יושב קרובים תנות הארץ אדוני בציון גדול ורם הוא על כל העמים יודוך שמך גדול ונורא קדוש הוא ועוז מלך משפט אהב אתה כוננת מישרים משפט וצדקה ביעקב אתה עשית רוממו אדוני אלוהינו
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להד קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להד קודשו. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu le'ad kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu.
Thank you, Ori, and we can continue in Psalm 29 in page 136. This is the psalm that was sang according to the tradition at the time of the creation of Adam and Eve, when they understood that they are created on the twilight of the first Friday ever, on the notion of twilight. When you're on the twilight between the zones, that's where the most authentic things can come up. 136. Mizmor leDavid, avul Adonai b'nei Elim, avul Adonai chavod vaz, avul Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavodim, Adonai, Adonai, al maim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim, v'yishaber Adonai et arzei halevanon. Vayakidem kemo egel Levanon v'Sirion, kemo ben remim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, ויחשוף יערות ובהיכלו, כולו אומר כבוד, אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. May God grant strength to all people. May God grant our people with peace.
We now move to the Lecha Dodi, which of course is the song that the mystics of Tzafed used to sing when they went out to literally greet the Shabbat bride in the fields. And you know what that practice teaches us is that if we want our beloved to come, our beloved Shabbat, our beloved faith, our beloved God, whatever it is that we wish for, we need to go out and greet it. And so I invite you just to take a small moment right now with me to go out metaphorically to greet the shift in energy that we can experience during Shabbat. And I invite you to take with me right now, just to sit up straight and to take with me some breaths, 3 deep breaths. And then after that, we'll go into Lecha Dodi.
Adonai echad u'shmo
Turn to page 140 for Mizmor Shir.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי אסר ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדלה מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון.
On page 141, Tzaddik Hatama.
Tzaddik Hatama yifrach yifrach, Tzaddik Hatama yifrach. Keres bavanon yizge, keres bavanon yizge, keres bavanon yizge, yizge. Keres bavanon yizge, keres bavanon yizge, keres bavanon yizge, yizge. Shtulim bevet, bevet Adonai, shtulim bevet Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu, bechatzrot Eloheinu, bechatzrot Eloheinu, yafrichu. Bechatzrot Eloheinu, bechatzrot Eloheinu, bechatzrot Eloheinu, yafrichu. Od yenuvon meseva, od yenuvon meseva, deshenim verananim, deshenim verananim, deshenim verananim, iu. Deshenim verananim, deshenim verananim, deshenim verananim, iu. Lehagid ki yashar Adonai, lehagid ki yashar Adonai, zuri velo avlatavo, 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 zuri velo avlatavo.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. אמן. יעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אוהבים. יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We are now done with the preparatory section of the hymns, and we move into communal prayer. You can go to page 147 at the top. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nevarech, let us bless.
Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
And now I'm going to call on Rosa Manoyam to read us a prayer for Pride Shabbat.
Prayer for Pride Shabbat, written by Kehilat Kol HaNeshama and adapted by Rabbi Levi Beeman Coleman. Shekhinah, whose name is love, God who created us in your image, we thank you today for the pride and strength you have given us to live our lives, each of us in our own way, as equal members of our community and of society. We honor the memory of pioneers who challenged received wisdom and demanded their right to renew the old and sanctify the new. LGBTQIA people and supporters, tired of labels and diagnosis, and brought upon us, like the blessing of the rainbow, countless ways to understand and realize your counsel. It is not good for a human to be alone. As we sought to live our life faithful to the nature you implanted in us, those who profane your name, claiming that they hate in your name, God, rose up to humiliate and criticize us, to brutalize us and erase us. In your great mercy, you stood with us in our time of trouble and gave us the courage to stand together, to open our eyes and the eyes of the world around us, to see that all your creations deserve the freedom and the right to love. Today, too, strengthen us that we might witness and create wonders, be who we are, and love whom we love, not in the shade, but in the light of life, that we may live as Jews in the embrace of community, sanctifying our unions and celebrating before each other and before you. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. We are going to turn to page 152 for the Shema and watch the video, and then Lily will lead us in an alternative Vahafta.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Alternative Va'ahavta. Hear, O Israel, just as God is one, so are we. Just as you shall love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, so shall you love all people. Teach love, compassion, and understanding to your children, when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you retire, and when you arise. Bind these words as a sign upon your arm, so that you may fight against prejudice, between your eyes, so that you may not be blind to the suffering of others. And write them on the doorposts of your house, of your homes and gates, so that you remind yourself and others that intolerance will not be tolerated within these walls.
Jess, Mika Mocha.
Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Mahutecha ra'uvanecha, okayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam,
talking about changes to liturgy. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but Jess for a long time has been singing Moshe Miriam, adding Miriam into Micha Mocha. We're now going to turn to page 161, and Ruth will lead us in the reading, Let There Be Love and Peace.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Also on page 161, Ufros Aleinu, Rory.
Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Ufros Aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
Rory will go straight into Vishamru, which is on page 162.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We now move to the Amidah. As Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav would say, every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing. And we come now to our central prayer, where we hope that every word that we offer is a rose. On page 164. Adonai sepatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilateh Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. On page 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarai, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHaNorah, El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'Maot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. The top of 168. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדו מלך ממית ומחיי, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. On page 170, אתה הקדוש ושמך הקדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. On page 172 at the top. אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לשמך, תכלית מעשה שמיים וארץ, וברכתו מכל הימים, וקידשתו מכל הזמנים, וכן ככתוב בתורתך.
And we now turn to page 173, and James will lead us in Disturb Us. James, you're on mute. James, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Beautifully.
Great. Disturb us, O God. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, O God. Deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai Mkadesh HaShabbat.
Thanks, James. Thanks for that. We continue 174, Find Favor, and in the middle of the page, there is a special section for the Sukkot Festival. 174. רצי אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך אל קרוב לכל קוראיו, פנה אל עבדיך וכוננו שפוך רוחך עלינו, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, יעלה ויבוא ויזכר זיכרוננו, וזיכרון כל עמך בית ישראל לפניך, לטובה, לחן, לחסד ולרחמים, לחיים ולשלום ביום חג הסוכות הזה, זוכרנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה, אמן, ופוקדנו בו לברכה, Amen. Voshenu bo lechaim. Amen. Our God and God of our ancestors, on this day of Sukkot, festival of Sukkot, be mindful for us and all your people Israel for good, for love, for compassion, life, and peace. Remember us for well-being, amen. Visit us with blessing, amen. Help us to follow life, amen. ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון, ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון. Modim 176.
מודים אנחנו לך שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו לעולם ועד. צור חיינו מגן ישנו, צור חיינו מגן ישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור, לדור ודור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת. ערב בבוקר בצהריים, ערב בבוקר בצהריים, הטוב כי לא חלום רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך, קיווינו לך. קיווינו לך.
Thanks, Jess. And the last blessing on the sequence of the Amidah 178. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Praise the eternal one who blesses your people with peace. Amen.
Karen Lazar was going to read a alternative version or an addition to the Amidah prayer, but she's not feeling well, so I'm going to read it for her. It's by Rabbi Lisa Edwards. In the days before Stonewall, many Jews were among those who felt the sting of homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia, who suffered from the misunderstanding and rejection by family and Jewish communities. But you, creator of all, stood firm, reminded us what happened on the sixth day of creation, and God created the human in God's image. Until many came to understand that you do not create in vain, do not create without intent. Until many of us came to understand that we too are part of your design, loved equally by you. And the more we have learned and understood, the more has pride returned to our spirit, and the more our spirits have turned to you. We pray for the day when Kol Hashema Tahal Yah, when all spirits, every soul that breathes, shall praise you and admire your diverse creations. I'm going to call on Max from the Care Committee to introduce us and start the Mishaberach.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm sure you've read in the bulletin that one of our dearest members, Dr. Leslie Cooper, celebrated his 100th birthday a few days ago, and we were honored a group of us led by Rabbi Sa'ar, to go and visit him. And you could read about this in the bulletin, but the bulletin is just the words. And the care committee going there, there were 6 of us or 5 of us, to meet Dr. Cooper, who hadn't seen us for quite a long time. And he knew that we were there for his birthday because he's very, very with it. He knows everything that's going along. And we had the most wonderful morning with him. And the energy that was created between him and us, this beautiful love and happiness and peace, was just something that being a member of the care committee one doesn't often get, because it's just so different. And he got phone calls from people from Myrna in Cape Town. Judy baked a cake for him, and he said the blessing, the hamotzi lechem, before he cut the cake, which was delicious. And it just shows that it's more than just phoning people or visiting people. It is the reaction that one has with them, and that people realize that they're not alone, they are remembered. And we get the same thing, although not to the same extent, when we deliver beanies to premature babies or send books to schools. Whatever we do, it's in Tikkun Olam. We can't feel what pleasure this gives people, what excitement, but it's there, the energy is there. And to be able to take part in it is really an honor. And really, it doesn't take much time to make a phone call. We phone people on their birthdays, when they have yard sites, or just to speak to them. People who've been in lockdown for these past few months with not being able to see family or children, get tired of hearing the same conversation, and we phoning them have got something different. We listen to what they have to say. And I really ask you to phone Morgana, give them your name and address, so that you can join in with us with this truly wonderful mitzvah of Tikkun Olam. It might be on our doorstep, but we are reaching out to people all over the place. Most of them we don't know. So this is the last talk from the CareCom for this season, and I hope that some of you will join us and get the same pleasure that we do from one can't call it work, of being able to be part of the group. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Max.
And before we call on Rory to sing the Mishaberach, if there's anybody who you are praying for healing of body, mind, or spirit, if you would say their names out now or put it in the chat.
Hazel Kagan.
Yael Singer, Melvin Singer, Donna Bensky.
Danny Isaacs.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor habracha Imoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imoteinu Mekor habracha Avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I now have the honor of introducing to you Dr. Bev Ditsi. I'll read a bio and then say a few words. Dr. Bev Palesa Ditsi is a radical gender non-conforming lesbian activist, an award-winning filmmaker, musician, spiritual healer, and warrior who was instrumental in bringing LGBTIQ+ rights into focus in the late 80s and 90s in South Africa and the world. She is the first of many things, but is best known for being the first African lesbian to address the UN at the Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995, which is the subject of her latest documentary, Lesbians Free Everyone, filmed entirely during the global lockdown of 2020. Her mission is simple: to change narratives that uphold patriarchy through the erasure and the misrepresentation of the feminine in history. Throughout her activism, her mission has been to undo the lies and simply tell her story. I've been in love with Bev and her work from my very first engagement. Her work with film epitomizes the beauty, the strength, and the possibility that comes from us exercising our agency to tell our own stories. And when you come across it, you'll recognize it as a very Jewish thing, sacred work around memory and remembrance, rooted in activism and in life. For as long as I've known her, she's been a person who gives so graciously of herself to the LGBTI movement, and who nourishes the movement and the communities that she's in literally with herself through showing up, through relationship and through presence. And thank you so much for your presence tonight, Bev. And with that, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Josh. I am so honored. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rabbi. It is really wonderful to have been part of the service. My soul is feeling happy. And it's really good to see so many familiar faces, people I have not seen and siblings I haven't seen in a very long time. Good evening to all of you. I think I am touched more than anything because it's the first time in a very long time that I have been part of a very rainbow family of all kinds of diverse people since, in many, many, many years, which kind of reminded me of my beginnings of my activism when I was one of the founding members of the Gay and Lesbian Organization of Witwatersrand in the late 80s. And it was the first time that I was interacting with absolutely everyone from across every spectrum in the world. It's where I met Margaret and Liebe. It's where I met so many people that I would have never imagined interacting with, which for me was really the basis of what it is to be part of a rainbow community. The rainbow wasn't just about the gender identity or the sexual orientation. It was about the diversity of the human beings and the humanity amongst all of us who were all fighting for one vision, who all had one goal, and that was to see freedom, the freedom to be. And, for me, growing up in Orlando West, in Soweto, growing up in a family which was very maternal, I was very fortunate to have grown up with mothers and aunts who just let me be. For a very long time, my community thought that there were twins in my home because there was this boy that was known to run around the streets, And then once in a while on a Sunday, there's a girl who would emerge because she'd be forced into a dress to go to church. And so there was always a bit of confusion as to, what was happening, because if there were twins, wouldn't they be together at the same time? But it became very accepted in my community that I was just one of those people that wasn't like anybody else. But while it was accepted, I was also being terrorized, is more an appropriate word. I wanted to use a lighter word, but I was terrorized. I was terrorized because first I was being told that I am being what God did not make me, that I was going against everything that God wanted. I was a girl and therefore I was supposed to behave a particular way. And of course, this became worse when I entered my puberty and realized that it wasn't just the gender identity that was an issue. It was also the sexual orientation. It was also who I seemed to be having crushes on. And I was constantly being told that God hates me. And I think that the biggest trauma within the gay and lesbian, the trans, the bi, the non-binary, the non-conforming, amongst the gender diverse, is in actual fact the trauma of being told that your maker, the one who loves you, the one that you love, hates you. And it takes a very long time to get past that trauma. I was very fortunate to have great-grandmother who was in her 90s when she passed on. I really do love our elders. I really love taking care of our elders. They have such wisdom. My great-great-grand would say to me, but we've always known of people like you. What do they mean that you should not and people like you don't exist? People like you have always existed. You're part of God's plan. And in my high school, I had one principal who would just keep calling me into her office just to say to me, but God does not make mistakes. And I remember I just kept thinking, but wait, you're right. I am not a mistake. God does not make mistakes. I began to have these conversations with her where we would say, okay, so if God doesn't make mistakes and you exist and we are told that we should be binary and we should be either this or that and that's it, then how are you here? And I began to understand that man imposes God, their own version of God on us. And that is how I arrived at the God that I love, the God who loves me back, the God who does everything for me when I ask. And that has given me the strength to be the person that I am, to understand and to know that I'm very defiant in my pride. Everything I do, even when there's homophobia around me, my shoulders stand, my shoulders are square, and I say very proudly that you don't know my relationship with God, so you cannot tell me. And this defiance really came from knowing and understanding and having the family, my immediate family, who understood me when they eventually did, and having the family that has been around me that has made sure that no matter who outside was discriminating against me, when my family stood for me, the whole community began to understand that it is not just me alone that they would have to fight. They would have to fight my entire household. And once it became my household, it became members of the community. And once it became the community, it started spreading further. And that's when I started seeing how solidarity works as well, is how all of us, the minute we begin to understand and see each other's humanity, cannot come from any other place but love. And so my activism as a young person came from a place of anger. I think those who may have seen me and those who I may have interacted with would know me as a very angry young person, even with my loud halo, like a frown on my face. As I grew older, I started realizing and understanding that we cannot approach the challenges of the world, most of which come from hate, we cannot approach them with the same mentality. We cannot approach from a place of hate. That takes us nowhere. And so my activism comes from a place of love, comes from a place of healing for my queer siblings across the entire spectrum, healing for my people, all my people, whoever my people are. My people are you, my people are my home, my people are people. In our language, Ubuntu keeps getting spoken of, but people do not practice Ubuntu. Ubuntu really means I see you, all of you. And so I had this whole speech written out, and instead I became part of a service that I have not been a part of a service such as this, with this beauty, with this inclusivity. I did not feel like, this is the pride, and therefore we added the word pride over here. No, this was incredibly beautiful to feel so welcome and so included in this family. And so I end up having to discard all these big words in this big speech to just really say that it is incredible to know that there is a community and a family of people, because it begins with the seed and it begins with the home, where once in the home, there is love and there is community and understanding. It is easy for that love to then grow and spread. And I'm very, very thankful to have been a part of this. Thank you, Josh, for the invitation. Thank you, Rabbi. And thank you. It is so good to see everyone that I haven't seen in a long time. Thank you.
You can see everybody clapping and putting up thumbs and saying how beautiful it is. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your soul and sharing the warmth that we have and recognizing the warmth that we have as a community. And I feel like I know you because I started teaching Simon and I the documentary years ago in my class, and my students who are in Canada love that, and it's such a powerful story for anyone who hasn't seen it. And we just thank you for sharing your kindness and yourself with us, and your story that so many of us can relate to on so many levels. I'm going to ask Margaret to do a short reading before the Mourner's Kaddish, and then she will read the Kaddish, and then we'll go to Leslie from Mancom to bring greetings.
I think it's good minute. Oh God, remember today our LGBTQIA+ siblings who were martyred in years past, those murdered by fanatics in the Middle Ages, those who perished in the Holocaust, and those struck down in our own city, in our own time. Remember also those who were victims of suicide, driven to despair by a world that hated them because of their love or gender. And in mercy, remember those who lived lives of loneliness, repressing their true natures and refraining from sharing their love with one another. Oh God, remember the sacrifice of these martyrs and bring an end to hate and oppression of every kind. Help us bring an end to hate and oppression of every kind. Yitgadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'l'almei almaya, yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar, ve'yitrumam ve'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei Dekudisha B'richu. Le'lam min kol bichata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechimata, da'miran ba'alma, v'imaru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'alko Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimrumav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. V'alko Yisrael. V'imru amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Dr. Bev, thank you. That was an extraordinary speech from the heart. You managed to combine solemnity and joy with a lot of beauty. And I don't know you, but reading all the comments in the chat room, I know I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for everybody who listened to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was extraordinary. I also want to say thank you, and that tonight we were privileged to have a very thoughtful and beautiful service under the extraordinary accomplished stewardship of Simone and her team. My hope tonight is that what we take out of this evening's service was about inclusion and acceptance and celebration of the wide and varied identities that make us such a rich and unique congregation. I think each of us is composed of multiple identities. And tonight, while tonight we celebrated those whose sexual identities fall into the broad category of LGBTQ+ range, I look forward to a night when we are welcomed into a Shabbat service that is not defined by identities where exclusion and victimization are so dominant. It was a real privilege to be able to sit back and listen to such a beautiful service that had so much creativity and depth. So thank you, Simone, and your team, and everybody who was here tonight. That was an extraordinary experience. I, of course, being part of Mancom, have a couple of announcements I want to make. First of all, the Sami project is going ahead and we continue to need more Samis. But I did want to share with you something that Simone told me. After last week's appeal for more food, we really did receive a lot more food, and we were able to go with huge abundance to the community in Hillbrow and share an incredible feast with them. So let us make that feast a feast that happens weekly and not just every now and then. So very much thank you for that. And then second of all, of course, I'm not going to let go the chance to remind you that the High Holiday Appeal is still being appealed for. I want to tell you a very simple calculation. If you take one apple and you add another apple to it, you have 2 apples. That makes a lovely, healthy diet for a flourishing person to thrive, not just to survive. Okay, now if you take 1 apple and you add no apples to it, you have only 1 apple, which is half as many apples as you need to flourish and survive. So our shul used to have 1 apple plus another apple equal 2 apples. This year, and under COVID, we only have 1 apple, which is half as much as we need to flourish and survive. So please, I know I said that dignity was overrated and that my appeal was now down to begging. And I again beg, please consider your donations to the shul. And even those of us that have made donations, don't be shy. We're very happy to receive a second donation or a weekly donation. And on that note, with apples in mind, 1 + 1, 1 + nothing, the ways in which you can donate are in the chat room. And again, I'd like to thank you. Dr. Bev, you made me cry tonight. Brought beautiful, beautiful, lovely tears to my eyes. So thank you very much. And thank you, Simone.
And thank you to Josh for all his work with me as well on this. And I just want to thank every single person who came forward to read. And it was incredible to have, I think we had 3 generations of people from our community who shared in the service. And to me, that was incredibly special. And we get the treat of ending with a very special Adon Olam from Rory. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Do 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 Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol Yetzir Nivra Liet Nasa B'chefzo kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד בן שני, להמשילו להכבירה, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו הפקיד רוחי, וישן בעירה, ואם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא, אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Bev. Thank you all. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank
See
you.
you on Monday evening, 6 o'clock.
Shalom, everyone.
During the season.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Linda. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you very much for a wonderful service. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Great to see you, Anastasia and Matilda.
Great to see you too. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Love your
Shalom.
dog, Rory.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hey.
Adorable dog.
Dog's too sweet.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Yanni. Shabbat Shalom, Ruth and Tony.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye.
Bye. Shabbat shalom. Hello. Rory, you're in a different spot.
Yeah, where are you? I also wanted to ask. Still there. Never mind.
Oh, has he gone?
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah. He was on another spot. You're right. I also spotted it. Bye. Cheers. Cheers. And tomorrow with Temple with Beit David, those join. Tomorrow with Beit David a bit later. Pay attention. Read the bulletin. Bye.
Bye. Shabbat shalom. We do read the bulletin.
Goyach, Simon.
Russell, can we turn YouTube off?